There was an incident at the Grammys. It led to you being taken out in handcuffs and arrested.
And you got some attention recently for being somewhat critical of President Biden, saying you weren't ready to endorse him yet. So
you lost me a little bit with your support of Kemp, but let me tell you this.
Not support of
some of
Kemp.
his policies.
I mean, that's some misinformation. You cannot like me, but don't lie on me.
What is good, y'all? So we got to talk about the cackling hens again and how they love to try to destroy their own. Okay, they were ripping into Killer Mike. Okay, this is a famous rapper. Okay, he's pretty much known for being like an older rapper slash activist. Okay, he does a lot of things in the community. Now, here's the thing about him though. He is a staunch Democrat. However, because he doesn't support everything that the Democrats do and he tries to independently think for himself, then the folks on View, the cackling hens, have a problem. In particular, Sunny Hostin has an issue with him, and he went on the show. She tried to make it all about how great Joe Biden was and how Killer Mike was wrong for not supporting him and for criticizing him and so forth. Now, before we get into that, take a quick look at some of the things that he said about Joe Biden and Donald Trump in the past.
The guy we got up there now, jittering. I be thinking they holding him up with a cane.
Let me ask you that. Okay,
yeah, that's the that's old.
Okay, do you think that he has let down black people?
Who?
Biden.
Has he let down black people?
Well,
he might not let down black people. He ain't let down me. I knew what we was getting.
You knew you was getting?
Yeah, I knew what we was getting.
Because black people thought it was going to be an extension of Obama.
No, they didn't. No, they didn't.
You crazy.
Black people didn't think.
What you think?
Well, if they thought he was going to get an extension of Obama, they was exactly right. Somebody who's not going to do very much for your community.
Do you think Trump did more for black community than what's that?
I would rather deal with the devil I know. And I feel like we had a better chance of cutting a deal between him and Biden with him. I didn't vote for him. I didn't necessarily want him to win. But I'm like, man, being a kid who had been in the streets, I'm like, you know, he'll cut a deal. The other guy not going to cut no deal. Because the other guy, Auntie told him they got the back. He's not going to even listen to us. And so I think Biden has been who he has been this whole time. I think he is the same politician that invoked the word super predator. I think he is the same politician that pushed for disproportionate sentencing between crack and cocaine. I think he's arrogant. I think he is ignorant, and I think he does not have the best of our community in mind. Nor do I think the black advisors he has. I think they have the best for the black Democratic community. But I grew up in a black community that had Democrats, Republicans, again, my heroes and villains. The same neighborhood I grew up in birthed some of the strongest black Democrat supporters, also produced Herman Cain.
Oh, wow.
You know, so for me, my thing is where can we get something? You know, so I don't think that the Democratic Party has in the last 60 years done right by black folks.
So y'all know how these chicks are, okay? They absolutely cannot stand criticism of any type of Democrats whatsoever, especially Joe Biden, who is literally the worst president probably in the history of the United States. If anybody thinks I'm wrong, feel free to let me know in the comments who the heck was worse than Joe Biden. Like, this guy is crooked, he's falling asleep, he's falling over. Everything's wrong with Joe. I'm like, who the hell is worse? This economy is terrible. All these wars and ridiculous protests and encampments all over the place. Inflation's out of control. It's wild. And people actually try to defend this man, and it is sick. You talking about mental illness. Let's get into this video.
Now, you know, I'm a former prosecutor.
Yeah.
And there were some other headlines that came out. And I was very upset about it.
Yeah.
Because it was unnecessary, and you don't do that on that special night. Yeah. Especially for what I read about.
Yeah.
They're talking about the fact that Killer Mike was actually arrested. Okay, now this is over something stupid. He was arrested because basically he walked in there was like security like outside of a building because he's won like 3 Grammys. And on the day where he won one of the Grammys, he was walking in a way like a place he wasn't supposed to walk. And security actually came, let him go inside, get his Grammy, and then decided to arrest him afterward. It was pretty dang stupid.
Hey, are you serious? Yeah, tell us about it. What up?
And I think security got a little overzealous, and that's all. It's all, you know, it's water under the bridge for me.
Yeah.
But I like to say all of my heroes have been in handcuffs: Malcolm, Martin, Mandela, Medgar. So, you know, I walked out with the same dignity and respect that I walked in with.
And you got some attention recently for being somewhat critical of President Biden, saying you weren't ready to endorse him yet. What's your holdup there?
What's my holdup? Well, first of all, I think everyone should focus on hyper-local. We get caught up in the soap opera of federal elections, and that's fine. But if you are concerned with the federal election, you don't know who your city council or your wardsman is, you don't know who your mayor is, and you don't have a good list of state representatives or governor, then you're just a part of whoever wins the Super Bowl or fanfare. So my most important election is going to be in about a year and a half for who's my mayor going to be. I think that Andre Dickens is doing a great job around housing in Atlanta, and I don't want that to be lost.
You see how, like, this guy basically supports the Democrats, but that's not even good enough. I mean, he make no mistake, he doesn't call himself Democrat, but he absolutely strongly supports Democrats. I've never heard him say anything about how he supports any conservative or libertarian or somebody who just registered as an independent, right? Everybody he supports is always Democrat, but because Joe Biden isn't on his list, that's not good enough. He's not Democrating hard enough, okay? It's not enough for them.
Even though we have a Republican governor, Brian Kemp, I have a good relationship with him. I like what he's done in terms of Georgia business. We've been leading business amongst all states for the last 10 years, and he brought back the Hope Scholarship and expanded it. So if you're a kid in Georgia, you're poor, you got to be average, you can go to college for free or trade school. So in my community, girls are going to college, but boys don't have anywhere to go, and they're not choosing to. In my community, I have a push for trades. That's why I support organizations like Georgia Youth Build. I support organizations like Next Level Boys Academy, because they usher out boys. I need my daughters to be able to marry somebody. Right. So, and even in that case, I have said, okay, this governor's doing a good job. In terms of nationally, I'm just kind of doing what my grandfather said, staying out of white folks.
And I want to reiterate, so he says that even though he thinks Kemp did a good job, he didn't say he supported Kemp as in, like, voted for him. I want y'all to bear that in mind.
Business and watching what happens. You know, I'm going to see what happens. If there's a candidate that pops up around September, October that needs a push that's really, and policy-wise is good for us, going to jump up. But for right now, I just don't want to be involved in the soap opera because I'm much too concerned about what's going on in Atlanta on a hyper-local level.
That's so important.
You lost me a little bit with your support of Kemp, but let me tell you this.
See what I'm saying?
I mean, that's some misinformation. You cannot like me, but don't lie on me. I saw someone I really respect, a black woman who's a commentator.
So you don't support him, you like
said,
his policy.
Well, I support
some specific ones he named.
Beyond
how you not supposed to, what are you supposed to do if you support the policy and the person is behind the policy? That means you support the person. Idiots, I tell you. Like, this is why if anybody's like, wow, you're just gonna call them idiots, yes, because this is stupid. It's ridiculous. You can't support the person who has good policies that you support.
That he's the governor of my state, so I have to be involved with him because I can't divorce myself. But let me say this. If you criticize someone, don't lie. Don't say I didn't support Abrams, because I did. Don't say that I don't support Democrats, because I've helped get 3 Democratic mayors elected. I've helped get 2 state representatives elected. But if someone is in the king's seat, I'm not going to not have dinner with the king on behalf of my people. I have to do that.
Let me just point some of Biden's achievements out.
Okay, so she wants to go into Biden's achievements. So you see what I'm saying here? Like, she just basically ignored everything he said. She's like, well, let me tell you about how great Joe Biden is. And this guy supported Stacey Abrams in Georgia, the election denier in chief that all the Democrats mysteriously forgot about.
I do have one very affirmative statement to make. We won. But I didn't lose. I got the votes. But we won't know exactly how many because of how they cheated. I did win my election. I just didn't get to have the job. We were robbed of an election.
Using the word rigged, using the word steal, do you think it's dangerous going into 2020?
I don't, because we can actually back it up. And so in response to what I believe was a stolen election, and I'm not saying they stole it from me, they stole it from the voters of Georgia. In fact, someone outside asked if I'm ever going to concede. The answer is no.
This is not a speech of concession, because concession means to acknowledge an action is right, true, or proper. And I will not concede, because the erosion of our democracy is not right.
Polls are suggesting that there's been a rise in black voters supporting Trump. Do you believe these polls, and what policies that are important to black men are being addressed by the GOP?
Well, I don't.
only got a short time to answer that.
Yeah, I'll give you this. I'll give the Democrats this. Black people, especially black men in the South, are afraid. They have concerns around immigration. They have concerns around gun control. They have concerns around wealth building. So if I was the Democrats, I'd try to speak directly to that base. You guys already have their ear. Most of them have voted for you all their lives. So that doorway is still open for you guys to walk in and engage.
Sonny is not going to hear any of that, bro. Like, none of that stuff matters to her. The only thing she cares about is supporting Biden. Like, you could, as a black man or any other type of person, just sit up there and tell her all day why you support the GOP, but she is not going to accept it. Like, you want to have men and women's sports stay separated and not have it this transgender type invasion of men into women's sports, right? You want to support more of the nuclear family rather than the homosexual family being something that's promoted in society. You want to support something that is going to literally support the continuation of life, which is heterosexual couples rather than homosexual couples. That's just factual. There's nothing homophobic about that. You want to support a great economy. Okay, you want to have less inflation. Okay, you want to actually increase black wealth, not pretend as though you're increasing it. Okay, you don't just want to keep people renting, being able to rent their house because you're artificially preventing people from being evicted, right? You want to make it where more people own homes. Okay, like these are things that are good in society. Home ownership, a great economy, less inflation, less illegal immigration. Okay, but these are things that people like Sunny, they've had other guests on The View. I've done tons of videos on The View, and plenty of people break these points down to her, but it does not matter, okay? She's Trump deranged, and she doesn't care what anybody has to say. She just wants to basically lift Joe Biden's thing up and take a big old lick every single day, okay? So that's all she does, is she just gets on her knees. She's got the knee pads and elbow pads for Joe Biden and the Democrat Party, and it is sick at this point. So do most of these other folks on The View, including the so-called conservatives on there who basically are too afraid to actually put their points out there. Even Killer Mike was kind of cowering a little bit, like, wait a minute, I supported Democrats my whole life, which is true. He's telling the truth, but he also didn't get up there and criticize Joe Biden. You had the crime bill, you got the bad economy, you got the legal immigration. He mentioned like a little bit of that, but in my opinion, he didn't go hard enough, and he still managed to smoke the cackling hens. But let me know what you guys think. Drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new. I appreciate you watching the Black Anomaly Rising channel. I'm out.
You can't let your fair and equitable thoughts become totalitarian.
Yeah.
Don't feel married to any ideology.